Nicholas Littlejohn lives.
So we're gonna start the meeting today, just explain the way this is gonna go. Once we do the BZA meeting, if there's anyone here for that, like I said, we'll allow you to speak and stuff, but once we end the BZA meeting, you're go ahead and leave if you like, so we keep sitting out in the hall. As we go through the agenda and get to your application, as we complete it, if you just go ahead and leave so more people can get in here, we'll make sure everyone out there can hear their application heard, so if you do that, please. So with that, we're going to go ahead and call the March 8th, 2023 BZA meeting to order. Roll call, please. Jeff?
Bob Houston.
Present.
Monty Kisner.
Present.
Brian Johnson.
Present. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? 3 votes for, 0 against. I need a motion to approve the minutes from February 22nd, 2023.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? 3 votes for, 0 against. Zoning application number 3028 for a conceptual and special use permit for a communication tower submitted by Patrick Ewing on behalf of Michael Agnos on a 19.6 plus or minus acre tract of land located on part or of section 24, township 46, range 33, Cass County, Missouri, and commonly known as 18323 South State Route Y Highway, Belton, Missouri 64012. I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it. If there's any, Valerie, Tom, do you have any comments on this application?
So in September, the BZA heard a variance for the lot size, which should have been 20 acres. They only had the 19.6, so the BZA actually granted the variance of the 0.4 of an acre at that time. The tower they're looking at is about 105 foot tall, with those guide wires, and shouldn't require any FAA licensing. The Planning Commission heard this a couple of weeks ago, and they approved it with a 5-0 vote with 1 absent.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Any questions for him? At this time, we're going to open the public comment portion of zoning application 3028. If you're here to speak for or against, please step up to the podium, state your name and whether you're for or against, and your address.
Good evening, my name is Patrick Irwin, 5607 West 130th Street, Overland Park, Kansas. I'm the applicant for the proposal in front of you this afternoon. Along with myself, I'm also here with our landowner, Michael Agnos, and our outside attorney, John Taylor, in the event there's some questions that may need legal answering. Our proposal is, if you recall, we had a variance hearing back in September. Y'all unanimously approved us to put it on the 19.6 acres. Since then, there was some opposition that showed up, if you recall, and they voiced a lot of their concerns. We jotted them down, and we've adjusted our project since then to address a lot of those issues. The first one, we came into originally, we were asking for a 150-foot monopole tower. We've reduced this, we worked with the AT&T engineers. We've been able to reduce the height to the bare minimum needed, which is 105 feet. And in so doing that, it now reduces our setback from the property line. So we are now actually the entire height of the tower set back from the nearest property line. Whereas before, we only met the 2/3 requirement. Additionally, one of the other questions that came up was, is the tower going to have lights on it? No, it's not. We got approval from the FAA that does not require inter-tower lighting. And one of the other main arguments that the opposition brought up was this will devalue our homes or our properties nearby. Since then, we've hired an independent appraiser to do a full property value impact study. Took a comparative analysis of property values being sold in the area versus a tower without a tower. In their professional opinion, in a report that we submitted as part of our application, that there will be no detrimental effect to any of the property values in the area. In addition to that, we also, as part of our application, submitted the recommendations for approval from 2 of the local fire chiefs One of them being the Belton Fire Chief Sapp. He submitted a letter recommending that you all approve this, along with the Deputy Chief Smith from the South Metropolitan Fire District. I'll be able to answer any of your questions, hopefully, at the end of this.
Do you have any questions?
I have none.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
If anyone else would like to make a public comment on zoning application 3028, please step to the podium, state your name, address.
Okay. Hey guys, Jessica Levison. I live here in Harrisonville at 1103 Bird. Most of you already know me. I've been a real estate agent for 17 years now. I've also worked in right-of-way, and I just wanted to share some thoughts with you guys to help you make a good decision on all of this. I didn't plan to really address property value very much, but I will say, disagree with that. I've done lots of appraisals for banks, and one of the questions that they ask us is, are there any transmission lines? Are there any cell towers? Are there any water towers nearby? What's there? Because that has to do a lot with the value and the movement of the property. Most recently, when we were in our big boom last year, there was a property close to the high school, Ray Peck High School, and it had a water tower very close to it. It was a real nice house, completely remodeled, completely redone, sat on the market while everybody else was selling. If that doesn't tell you something, I'm not sure what did, because I had 3 buyers that I showed it to, and that tower's proximity had something to do with the fact that they weren't willing to make an offer on it and buy it. One lady said, I'm just not willing to pay that much. She did make a lower offer on it, but she was very concerned about the resale value of that. So, when an entity hires their own independent appraiser, I always kind of stand in question of that. It's kind of like when the pharmaceutical companies hire their research group to check out to make sure that their pharmaceuticals are not going to hurt anybody, and we know how that plays out. So the next things that I really did plan to go into was need. Have we a proven need for this tower? Does it need to go in based on our communications and its location? I mean, in that area, are we dropping calls? Are we having a hard time, getting whatever? So need. And then contracts. Is the tower just being put up, or do we have contracts for it currently? I have been on some right-of-way projects where there were towers put up that never had anything put on them at all, and they just sit there. And so there's 2 issues with that. A lot of times there isn't any forward thinking to have a decommissioning fund, which I highly suggest if you allowed this to go through, that you would require them to already have a plan in action to take that tower down and have money set aside for it. I know that when I was on a project up north, the state of Missouri actually required a decommissioning fund to be set up for those power lines that were going to get put up. Because in 25 years, let's just say they're not using the tower anymore, it's just sitting there. What's who's going to take care of that? Most of the time the landowner, they didn't think about it at that point in time. And so that's something that if you guys have not already explored that, I highly suggest you do. And I just want to remind you that you guys establish your rules for a reason in your zoning. And the landowner is not giving all rights to his land, his old 19-point-something acres. You guys aren't turning that all to any type of commercial property, are you? And so why did we establish that as agriculture land or whatever? And then what's our future use for the land around it? So those are all things that I would like you guys to kind of consider. Even if you do allow it, if you haven't established a decommissioning fund, I would highly suggest you guys look into that. You have any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yep.
If there's anyone else who'd like to speak at this time, please step forward, state your name and address.
Jeff Evilsizer, 6801 East 27th Street, Dalton, and I'm against. Issues brought up at the last meeting, property value, we talked about blight, eyesore. I don't know how that's still an issue, still on the table. I watch the sunset now through a tower. I watch the clouds roll in now through a tower. That area is affected, so people talked about the feel of the neighborhood. In terms of ag, rural, leisurely, now it feels industrial. So that remains. Traffic was brought up, and then I had brought up human health. And interestingly, that was dismissed as perceived or alleged environmental effects aren't permitted. You can't consider that. And I just again say, human health is not mentioned in the statute. It's environmental. Migratory patterns of birds, gophers, whatever, environmental, yes. In fact, human health is different. There's no way Jefferson City in their wisdom told you to not consider possibilities of human health. So what are those possibilities? I'm a medical person. Well, there's literature saying potential harm. There's literature says we don't know, we need more studies. What's interesting is there are no studies that say health is improved by increasing your exposure to cell phone radio frequencies. That's my business. I'm a health specialist. I work with health. We use radiation, infrared sauna, red light therapy to enhance human health. We don't tell anybody, move close to a cell phone tower, try to increase your exposure to cell phone frequencies. It's interesting that it's not in the literature. So we can cloud the issue, we don't know, we need more studies, but I will tell you, there's not studies on the other. And can you assess that or not? Are you allowed to? I again say the statute says environmental. It doesn't say human health. Why wouldn't Jefferson City in their wisdom put human health in that statute if that's what they intended? In terms of property owner rights, I'm in favor of property owner rights. I agreed with your original decision. 19.620, if there's no harm to neighbors, grant it. Good decision. You heard, though, then there is negative impact to neighbors. You heard neighborhood opposition. That to me is similar to southern Jackson County landfill. Grant them their property rights. You can do what you want, even though light, smell, traffic, sound, water pollution, you as commissioners in essence are saying a yes vote. It's a similar thing. You can a yes vote to landfill because the property owner has a right to do what he wants with his property. And in this case, I'll even say special use. Is that granted to the property owner or to Tillman Industries? I think the decision is, do we give property owners special use to have domain over their property? In this case, he's decreasing his domain over his property, giving authority to another industry that's not a local resident, who isn't affected by the impact of the surrounding neighborhoods. So zoning and commission can say, yes, it's zoned for it, variance was granted, yes, meets code, it's away from the street, the pillars are right, the guide wires are right, granted, yes. Fine. There's other considerations that zoning, codes and zoning don't take into consideration, partly because there's not even good information to the community that meeting's happening. And I would even say, commissioners, consider passing something that says, if cell towers are coming into our county, put it incumbent on industry to inform neighbors within a quarter-mile radius of what's happening so they can be involved. Let them issue communications within a half mile or mile so that you can actually get good community input and have good decisions, and not just something that happens kind of behind the scenes and then it's there and now the community has to live with it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd like to comment on zoning application 3028? Please step forward. At this time, we're going to close the public comment of zoning application 3028. Any other questions, gentlemen, for anyone?
I have none.
All in favor of application number 3028? 2 votes for. All against?
No. Against.
One against. Zoning application 3028 passes. Thank you all. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor to agenda meeting? Agenda meeting? 3 votes for, 0 against. Okay, at this time, we're going to call the March 8, 2023, 12:15 commission meeting to order. I need a roll call, please. Jeff?
Bob Houston,
Present.
Monty Kisner,
Present.
Ryan Johnson.
Present.
I need a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
There will be a change on item number 9, resolution number 22-33, approving an agreement with Time Key Enterprises. We did not receive all the paperwork that we needed to on that, so we're going to remove that from the agenda this week. We'll place it on a later agenda when it comes available. So with those changes, all in favor? Aye. 3 votes for, 0 against. I need a motion to approve the minutes from February 22nd, 2023.
Second.
All in favor? 3 votes for, 0 against. Number 5, resolution 2319, approving and authorizing the annual Cass County Core Cent Road and Bridge Sales Tax distribution to cities and payments to cities. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Steve?
Yeah, this is just the annual distribution of the annual sales tax receipts, of which 1/3 of the road and bridge sales tax that we have in Cass County goes to the various cities in Cass County. And so these are the taxes that were collected in 2022, and we're now distributing them to the cities according to a formula that was made up by the League of Cities.
Okay. Any questions, Sean? No. All in favor? 3 votes for, 0 against. Resolution 2319 passes. Resolution number 2320, approving a pharmacy and medical service billing agreement with POC Network Technologies. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Sarah?
Yeah, this is an immunization billing program specifically for Medicare. So we'll take on the task of getting our Medicare Part B PTAN, which is basically our contract number, so writing up our contract with Medicare. They will also verify and submit claims for us, so that takes a little bit of strain off of our clinic staff, specifically our billing specialists. So to kind of give you an idea about how many folks this might be able to help out in Cass County, in 2019, there are about 18,000 people over 65 receiving Medicare in Cass County, about 2,600 disabled persons receiving Medicare, so about 21,000 people in Cass County receiving Medicare. Through this, they would be able to bill Medicare for services, their immunization services through us.
Any questions, Sean? Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
All in favor of resolution 2320? 3 votes for, 0 against. Resolution 2321, approving work session minutes. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
These are the work sessions that we've had for the last year that we're just catching up and improving on. Any questions? All in favor? 3 votes for, 0 against. Resolution 2321 is approved. Resolution 2322, approving an agreement with National Environmental Health Association. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Sarah?
This is a $1,000 sub-award through NEHA, or the National Environmental Health Association, for training and resources related to the NEARS program, which is the National Environmental Assessment Reporting System. It's a food safety program that helps the environmental teams conduct thorough and complete environmental assessments during foodborne outbreak investigations. So it's a program that kind of helps bridge between our EPI team and our environmental team in the event of foodborne outbreaks, foodborne illness outbreaks, sorry.
Thank you, Sarah. Any
Okay.
questions?
No.
All in favor of resolution 2322? 3 votes for, 0 against. Resolution 2322 passes. We removed number 9, resolution 2323 from this agenda. So We're gonna go to number 10, ordinances number 23-01, an ordinance amending the county code chapter 400 related to certain zoning changes and updates. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Valerie or Tom, do you want to talk about this?
So, Chapter 400, which is our zoning code, there is a lot of changes that, from the state level that mandated we make changes to our codes. So as part of that process, we are required to post public notices in 2 locations of each of the 18 townships, which was completed within the proper timeframes. During that meeting with the Planning Commission, our county attorney, Paul Kempo, provided explanations on the requested changes. There was some discussion. The Planning Commission did approve and voted 5-0 with 1 absent in approval.
Okay. Any questions for
Do
Tom?
you want me to summarize them?
Sure. Paul, I think we're.
So there are about 8 or 9 different categories of the changes. The zoning ordinance chart of permitted uses has been updated to provide for more consistency between some of the uses and also to reduce some of the regulatory barriers to entry for some of the businesses trying to establish in Cass County. Recent law was changed last year to provide for what's called a no-impact home-based business that meets certain guidelines or criteria. And so this just incorporates those statutory provisions on no-impact home-based businesses. In short, if you meet the criteria for a no-impact home business, then a city or county is not allowed to require a permit, a variance, or charge you money to do your no-impact home-based business. There were changes with regard to special use permits, making them transferable between owners and providing for a revocation procedure if there was some use of the land that was not in accordance with the special use permit conditions or other applicable ordinances. That same category also does away with what the county uses as kind of an annual permit requirement, where I think each year on the anniversary date, Val or Tom, somebody in that office, sends a notice and the business has to send in like a new permit and a check. I think there's a cost for it, I'm not sure. Haven't really had any meaningful enforcement actions come about from the annual review. It does cause a lot of work on the zoning office. Notwithstanding that, under the proposed amendment, even with the annual review, it was all complaint driven anyway. It's not like when the anniversary date came up, Val went and drove around and did a site inspection. So it's all complaint based, and if there is non-compliance, there's still the revocation procedure that the county can embark on. People are familiar with Amendment 3, recreational marijuana. Several years ago when medical marijuana went in to effect, we amended the county zoning ordinance. This just puts recreational in the same category as medical. And then a new section is being added to provide for temporary housing use of recreational vehicles. So mainly more in the rural parts of Cass County, somebody may own, 20, 30, 40 acres. They want to build their forever home. And up to now, so what this would do is just allow them a period of time to reside in their trailer or their fifth wheel on site while the house is being constructed, subject to some criteria. Thanks.
Okay. Any questions, Sean?
No, sir.
Step in the right direction.
Yeah.
All in favor?
You gotta open it up for
Excuse me. If there is any public comment on this, I'd like to step up to the podium, state your name and address at this time, for or against it.
afternoon. My name is Grace Russell, 23710 South Lake Road, Harrisonville. And this is concerning the special use permit and the annual inspections. And as a resident, I'm for the annual inspections. If there's a business going in next door, I'm not allowed to go in there inside and inspect and make sure that everything is running the way it's supposed to be. The only thing I can do is look outside. So these annual inspections may be a hassle for the county, but for the residents, they're very important. That's all we've got to go on to make sure that these businesses are keeping their end of the bargain. They might be polluting inside. We don't know that. We don't see it. So to me, it's very important that that be kept in place. It was put in place for a reason. And because it's a hassle for the county, I think that we as residents are more important than a hassle for the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Anyone else like to comment on ordinance 2301? Please step up to the podium. At this time, we'll close the public portion of ordinance 2301. Any other questions, gentlemen?
No.
All in favor of ordinance 2301? 3 votes for, 0 against. Ordinance 2301 passes. Application 3027, minor subdivision, preliminary and final plats. I need a motion.
Second.
Tom or Valerie on this one?
So with this one, we have a 30 plus or minus acre parcel that currently has agricultural zoning. The applicant wants to divide it into 3 separate tracts consisting of a 17.46 plus or minus tract, a 5.73 plus or minus tract, and a 6.81 plus or minus tract to obtain a residential rural zoning on each tract. There were some questions and concerns about the current condition of the road out there. Since then, we've learned that Road and Bridge has a contract already to fix and make repairs to that. There was concerns over the water supply. The water district has absolutely said they've got plenty of water to service the residents in that area. So the Planning Commission voted to approve with a 5-0 vote with 1 absent.
Okay. Any questions from me? At this time, we're going to open the public comment for application 3027. If anyone would like to speak for or against application 3027, please step forward to the podium. Seeing none, we're going to close the public comment at application 3027. Any other questions, Sean? All in favor of application number 3027? 3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3027 passes. Application number 3029, lot split and rezoning of a parent tract of 53.3 plus or minus acre tract with the rezoning designation of agricultural into a 4 plus or minus acre tract to obtain residential rural zoning designation and a 49.03 plus or minus acre tract to retain agricultural zoning designation. I need a motion.
So moved.
Tom?
Again, 53.03 plus or minus acre tract divided into a 4 acre tract with and obtain a residential rural zoning, and the 49.303 acre tract to retain the ag zoning. There were no comments during that hearing, and Planning Commission voted to approve with a vote of 5-0.
Thank you, Tom. At this time, we're going to open public comment at application 3029. If you'd like to speak for or against application 3029, please step forward and state your name and address.
Aaron Owen on behalf of the applicant, 117 South of Lexington Street, Harrisonville, Missouri. I won't take long because I know you have a busy agenda, but be happy to answer any questions the commissioners have, but I ask that you approve this application.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions, John? Anyone else like to speak in favor or against application 3029? Seeing none, at this time, we're going to close the public comment portion of application 3029. All in favor of application number 3029? 3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3029 passes. Thank you, Aaron. Application number 3030, lot split of parent tract of 15.82 plus or minus acre tract with the zoning designation of RR into a 5 plus or minus acre tract and a 10.82 plus or minus acre tract, both to retain residential rural zoning designation. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Tom?
So as stated, there's 15.82 acres that they wish to divide into a tract of 5 acres, as well as one with 10.82 plus or minus, and retain the residential rural zoning. There were no comments during the planning commission hearing. Planning commission voted 5-0 with one absent.
Thank you, Tom. At this time, we're going to open the public comment of application number 3030. If you'd like to speak for or against it, please state your name and address. Thank you, sir.
I believe this is my lot split for, I'm Todd Gibson at 324, okay, all right. I would like to inquire with the board, I'm splitting this off. I mentioned previously I have a health issue. I've been recommended to have family members nearby. So I'm splitting this 5 acres off for my son to build a barn dominium on. He originally was going to go with a lagoon, but we've since decided to go with an in-ground septic. And I'm wondering what would be involved if I change that from a 5 acre tract to a 4 acre tract.
That'd be a question for our zoning department, Valerie.
I discussed this with Mr. Gibson earlier in the week, and it's something that can potentially be done administratively, provided the soil test and everything meet for an in-ground system.
Okay, so we can go ahead and approve this lot split today, and that's something I can do at a later date then? Wonderful, okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Valerie. Anyone else like to speak in favor or against application 3030? Seeing none, we're going to close the public comment portion of application 3030. All in favor of application 3030? 3 votes for, 0 against. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Application number 3031, minor subdivision, preliminary and final plats of a parent tract of 9.98 plus or minus acre parcel with residential rural zoning designation to be divided into 2 tracts consisting of 6.97 plus or minus acre tract, a 3.01 plus or minus acre tract, each to retain a residential rural zoning designation. I need a motion.
So moved.
Tom?
So we'll save you a little bit of time. So comments where there was a correction to be made on the legal description that had the wrong township number on it, I believe. So that'll be taken care of. The planning commission approved with a vote of 5-0 with 1 absent.
If there's anyone here who'd like to comment in favor, for, or against application 3031, please step forward, state your name and address. Seeing none, we're going to close the public comment portion of application 3031. All in favor of application 3031? 3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3031 passes. Application number 3032, lot split and rezoning of a parent tract, 52 plus or minus acre tract with the zoning designation of agricultural into a 5 plus or minus acre tract to obtain residential rural zoning designation and a 47 plus or minus acre tract to retain agricultural zoning designation. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Huh?
So in this hearing, there were no comments. Planning commission approved with a vote of 5-0 with 1 absent.
This time we're going to open the public comment portion of application 3032. If you'd like to speak for or against, please step up to the podium. At this time, we will close public comment to application 3032. Any questions?
Nope.
All in favor of application 3032? 3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3032 passes. Application number 3033, rezoning of Lot 2 and Lot 3 of Wheatland Estates, a subdivision in Cass County, Missouri, both with the current zoning designation of C2 heavy commercial, C2, and both to obtain residential rural zoning designation. I need a motion.
Second.
Tom?
Go with this one as well. There was no public comment. Planning Commission approved 5-0, 1 absent.
Okay. At this time, we're going to open public comment for application 3033. If you'd like to comment on it, for or against, please step up to the podium. Seeing none, we're going to close the public comment portion of application 3033. Any discussion? All in favor of application 3033? 3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3033 passes. Application number 3034, rezoning and subdivision preliminary and final plats to be known as McKee Estates of a parent tract of 474.70 plus or minus acres to be divided into 3 lots consisting of a 3.34 plus or minus, a 3.32 plus or minus, and a 3.47 plus or minus acre tracts, each to obtain residential rural zoning designation, and a remaining 464.57 plus or minus acre tract to retain agricultural zoning designation with an existing 2.85 plus or minus acres to retain the C2 zoning designated as described in file number 2361. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Tom?
So with this, there was a question about whether the road was going to be public or private. It will be private. There was previously a correction on a legal description on that as well. The townships corrected that. Planning Commission approved with 5-0 with 1 absent.
Okay. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak in favor or against application number 3034, please step up to the podium.
Aaron Orn again, on behalf of the applicant, 117 South Lexington Street, excuse me, and did you drink of water, I think, Harrisonville, Missouri. Again, I know you have a busy agenda. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, and if none, ask for your approval of this application.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions, Shane? No. Anyone else like to speak for or against application 3034? Seeing none, we're going to close the public comment portion of application 3034. All in favor of application 3034? 3 votes for, 0 against. You know, we're going to change the numbers from 3s. This is really good. All right, application number, thank you, Aaron. Application number 3035. Preliminary replat and rezoning of currently known as Country Creek Estates, number 3, of 85 plus 5 plus or minus, excuse me, let's start that over, of 85.5 plus or minus acres to be divided into 9 lots consisting of 4 3 plus, excuse me, 4 3 plus, A at 4.2, 4.7, 6.4 acre tracts plus or minus to obtain residential rural zoning designation, and a 48.2 plus or minus to obtain agricultural zoning designation, and a 10 plus or minus acre tract to obtain C1 light construction, light commercial, C1 zoning designation. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Tom?
So this is a replatting. It's actually reducing the number of residential lots. It is providing for a winery to be put in on the other portion. So the residential lots will have their own HOA in addition to the county regulations. Driveways will be controlled by MoDOT. There were questions on occupancy loads and things like that, which we won't be able to determine until after the permits are applied for the buildings.
Okay.
The Planning Commission approved 5-0 with 1 absent.
Thank you, Tom. If there's any comment for or against application 3035? Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Paul Luskett. I live at 5109 Rosewood Court in Columbia, Missouri, the owner of the property. This is Christina Caldwell from the Allstate Consultants Office here in Lee Summit, and we're here to answer any questions.
Any questions, Sean?
Thank you.
Thank you all. Is there anyone that would like to continue to comment on application 3035, for or against? Seeing none, we're going to close the public comment portion of application 3035. All in favor of application number 3035? 3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3035 passes. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Be nice to see another business out there. Application number 3037, subdivision preliminary plat and rezoning of parent tract of 203 plus or minus acre parcel with the agricultural zoning designation to be divided into 50-acre tracts consisting of 3 5 acres in size, all to obtain residential rural zoning designation. So moved. Motion?
So moved. Second.
Oh,
So this subdivision is being created to create single-family residences. The development will be completed in phases with temporary cul-de-sacs at the end of each phase, and I believe it was three phases, I think. Concerns were raised about the annexation by Raymore. Raymore doesn't have any interest in annexing it because they don't have the infrastructure to support it at this time. The roads are to be decorated with, catching your.
so I know you're.
The roads will be decorated with islands and owned and maintained by the NHOA. The roads will be constructed to county standards with asphalt and curb. Concerns were raised about sufficient water supply, which the water department and fire department both signed off on. The planning commission did approve with a vote of 3-2 with 1 absent.
Any questions? At this time, we're going to open any public comment for or against application number 3037. Please step forward, state your name, address.
Evening or morning?
Morning.
Matt Slish, Drink Solutions, 50 Southeast 30th Street, Lee Summit, Missouri. The developer's with me as well to answer any questions. But just kind of as a follow-up to the Planning Commission meeting, we went back and talked to South Metro, and they're again in full support of the fire pond, essentially stating that a lot of the rural developments that you guys have, they typically have to take a pumper truck that's loaded with water. This site, we're actually providing a pond on site that can provide the 2-hour fire suppression amount basically needed that they can pump directly for, so it's a better improvement for their size. We have talked to water supply and again talked to them again, verify that they have water adequate to supply the domestic service, but again, not the fire, but they can provide some amount of fire supply, but it'll deplete quickly as that goes on. There's also some conversations about traffic. It's only 50 single family lots. Typically the peak hour generated in that is about a half a trip, so you're talking about 25 to 30 cars during the peak hour. So again, on Hubach or to the south, we're not expecting much of a demand that's going to increase on that side. So I said the developers, we're here to answer any questions you may.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
I have none.
Anyone else would like to speak for or against application number 3037? Seeing none, we're going to close the public comment portion of application 3037. All in favor of application 3037?
Aye.
3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3037 passes. Thank you all. Application number 3038, preliminary replat of Lot 1 of Raccoon Meadows to be known as Sheer Addition, to be divided into 3 lots consisting of 2 3 plus and 11.49 plus or minus acre tracts, each to retain residential rural zoning and designation. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Tom?
So no comments, provide. Planning commission approved with a vote of 5-0 with 1 absent.
Okay. At this time, we're going to open the public comment of application number 3038. If you'd like to speak for or against it, please step to the podium, state your name and address.
Alex Elliott with Atlas Sign Consulting, 14500 Parallel Road, Unit R, Pacer, Kansas, representing the owner. And I'd like to field any questions you guys have. Obviously, we request approval.
Any questions?
I have none.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak for or against application 3038? We're going to close the public comment portion of application 3038. All in favor of application 3038? 3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3038 passes. Application 3039, minor subdivision preliminary and final plats of a parent tract of 17.5 plus or minus acre parcel with a residential rural zoning designation to be divided into 2 tracts consisting of a 8.36 plus or minus tract, a 9.14 plus or minus acre tract, each to retain residential rural zoning designation. I need a motion.
So moved.
So as in the previous, there's no comments. Planning Commission voted to approve, 5-0, 1 absent.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to open the public comment of application 3039. Please step forward, state your name and address. Not seeing any, we're going to close the public comment portion of application 3039. All in favor of application 3039? 3 votes for, 0 against. Application 3039 passes.
Guys been busy.
You've been holding all these up?
Actually, that was asked at the planning board, and no, even if we would have had a meeting in December or January, we still would have only been down 2 comments. Or
Okay.
2 files, so.
Wow.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open the podium to public comment. Not seeing, we're going to close the public comment portion of the commission meeting. Commissioner Communications. We are going to go into executive session here right after the meeting. Once we get out of executive session, we'll come back in the general meeting just to adjourn the meeting. So I'll need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Need a roll call?
For which, the close.
Oh, excuse me, for RSMO 610.021.2 real estate.
Bob Houston,
Yes.
Monty Kisner,
Yes.
Ryan Johnson.
Yes. Doug, how are you?
Good, how you doing? Half that packet was you, Doug. You just, man.